Hi and welcome back. Today we're going to remake this Spartan helmet. And I have this one already done and I like the design, but there's a few things wrong with it. For one, I have too many polygons that are sort of disorganized. And the other is that there's a lot of polys on the model. So hopefully we're going to reduce some of the poly count a little bit and just make this a little bit better for 3D printing. Let's jump in. Okay, I've brought my previous helmet all the way down to ground level. I'm going to use that as a reference. I'm going to Shift A, mesh, and create a cylinder. I will scale it so it's approximately the same size. And then I'm going to bring it vertical just a little bit, just like that. So to start with, I'm going to take my original design and turn it vertically so I can get it referenced and oriented correctly. The tricky part I found is getting the eyes correct. So with this centered, I'm going to go to this view here, Shift A, mesh, and just make a normal cube. We'll scale it up and then flatten it out so it about matches that original one here. And then we'll rotate it at, I think, about 20 degrees, give or take. And then I'm going to bring it into position here. Go to my top view, bring it out, make sure it's not touching this center line here. So it should not touch the y-axis, and I'll tell you why in a minute, but for right now, this looks pretty good. It should be a little bit higher on the form. There we go. That looks good. With it selected, Shift select the cylinder, then Shift Control and B. This is a Boolean, and we'll choose difference. Now it's made a cutout or hole inside of that. We'll tab back over to top view and go into edit mode. I'm going to choose X-ray, so right here, or Alt Z to choose X-ray. I'm going to hit A to make sure everything's selected. And then I'm going to come down to the knife tool, and underneath that is bisect. Let's hover right over the y-axis, start drawing down, and then hold Control and release, and that will snap to that center line. Now I can hit V as in Victor, and that will cut it. Right click to reposition it. And then over here, I'm going to Control L and click. And then I can delete all of that. I'm going to delete the faces. Now we have a perfectly bisected model. And then I'm going to make some selections here. I'm going to choose the face selection option and just delete the top and bottom faces, and then Shift select these here as well. Remove those faces and any additional ones that occur along this back wall. Okay, now we have this cut out. That looks pretty cool. Let's take a look at the original here. And we need the nose piece to come down and over. So we're going to create that now, and I'm going to come from this second vertex over and down. So grab the knife tool, visualize where that nose piece needs to start and end, and it should be roughly at the same angle as the eyes. Hit enter to finish that off. And now we're going to cut out this section, and you can see in the original that my design starts to come back up right there. So in other words, it's going to swoop around the helmet. So let me start my line here, and I'm going to just bring it over every 2 down to the bottom edge. Hit enter. Again, I'm going to type C, and I'm in face selection mode still, and I'll just get rid of these. Right click to stop the selection process, hit delete, and get rid of those faces. Now if I have any extra geometry hanging around, I can get rid of that very easily. Get rid of those edges. And now I need to just do a little repair along this seam here. Fairly straightforward. I'll grab the vertex selection and select these two. Type F, and that will create a vertex right across them. If not, I'm just going to shift select all the way around. And then hit F, and it will fill it in. Okay, so now we just need to make the swoop that comes up the side of the face. And how I'll do that is just go to this side view here, and I can kind of see what my original looks like. I'll grab the knife tool, and I'm going to start about the center of the eye. Once I get to the top, I'm going to come around, click one more time, and try and get it to wrap around. I think that looks okay. It is a little bit organic and a tiny bit inaccurate, but I'm okay with that. Hit enter to commit. Come over and we're going to grab the face selection tool one more time. I like to do a C selection. Right click to release. C again, and I'm going to just finish that selection off. Right click again and then hit delete. Get rid of those faces. Okay, so that looks pretty good, and now we can add a modifier. I'll tab back out and come over to my modifiers here. I'm going to do a solidify modifier. I'll change its thickness to 0.1. And that gives me the dimension I need for 3D printing. I think that looks pretty awesome. Happy with that. All right, fierce. So let's go in and apply that. And now we're going to add a new modifier. Let me first switch my view to front, and I'm ensuring that I'm directly on the the Z and the Y axis. And I'm going to come over and add a mirror. Add the mirror modifier, and the top edge looks good. Okay, so we're done with the face mask for now. We can add some vertex if we need to with a subdivision surface, but I'm trying to keep poly count low. So we're just going to apply this for now, and if I want to add geometry later, I'll do that. Now I'm going to move this out of the way, and I'll add this cylinder here, or this dome for the top. Shift A, and we're going to do a UV sphere. Scale it up. And I'm going to just bring it over and try and get the scale approximate. So I have an overlap. That looks good. I'm going to tab back into edit mode for this one. And with everything selected or just type A, we're going to just do a bisect on this one right across the center. So start pulling out. Hold down Control and release. V to cut. Right click to reset. And then down here, Control L. And select the bottom. We're going to release delete these, and we'll delete the vertices. So now I can tab back out, and I'll do a solidify on this one too. So we're in object mode. I'm going to go to the solidify modifier and make it 0.1. And rotate that into position. Okay, happy with that. I do need to scale it down maybe a tiny bit, making sure there's no gaps or any problems there. Okay, so let's now make the hair for this. First things first, we need to make the kind of half circle here. That's going to hold it. So we choose Shift A, Mesh, and we're going to just do a cylinder. Again, scale it up, transform it so it's a little bit flattened. Come over on top, and we're going to just cut this in half. Now I could have made all of these in the same model, and the solidify modifier would have just applied to all of them. And I probably should have just done that, but I'll just merge them together later. I'm going to pull up the transformation here and make sure that I'm looking good. You can see my original one is tilted back a little bit, so I just went a little bit past 90 degrees. Okay, let's pull that up, and we'll bring these all together. For this one, I'm going to scale it up a little bit more, bring it down, back. Okay, so for this we need to now add hair, and this is going to be a mesh, again because I need this to be a printable 3D model. And I'll just Shift D to make a copy of this one, and all we're going to do is employ kind of the I don't know, the first part of this, and I'll tab in again to edit mode and decide how much or how far down my hair is going to be. So on this copy, I'm gonna, with the face selection tool, just delete some of the geometry. And it'll just take a second. Probably a faster way to do this than the way I do, but this helps me to be sure about what I want. So I'm gonna get rid of these guys here and delete those. Okay, so now I just have this chunk and we're gonna add hair to it. So tap back out, and now you should have a half curve and you're in object mode. Come down to your particles, come up and add hair. I'm going to change my number to 800 just so I have a lower poly count, and I'm going to change the hair length to 1.5. Maybe we can make it a little bit longer. That looks cool. And now we need to make this into a mesh, but we also have to add some geometry to it. So first things first, come up to the modifiers, and this particle has a convert to mesh button. If we click on that, now it is a mesh, and to add geometry we need to convert that once again. So we'll go to the object menu, convert, and we're going to temporarily turn it into a curve. And that opens up this option here. And in the curves, we can go down to, and we're going to change the depth of the bevel. And I'm just going to crank mine up to 0.05. And you can see what it does. It adds geometry, and it adds a lot of geometry. So changing that 800 number at the very beginning is important because, you know, we don't want to have too much geometry here. So with that, we now need to turn this back into a mesh. So what we'll do is go up here to object, convert, and convert that back to a mesh. This part's tricky. I'm going to select off of it and separate it from its original here, and I'm going to delete that one. It makes a copy, and it does delete out that bottom edge. So if you don't want that, you can always select on this and make sure that the particle is gone. So you can always delete the particle. But in my case, I don't need it because I already have the top edge here. And again, just trying to reduce poly count. So when I go into this, we just need to add some geometry. And I'll show you why. We're going to go in and add the solidify again. And we're not going to create too many overlaps. We're going to attempt to just get as much geometry as we can, and it is tempting to kind of try and fill it in, but I found that actually that makes non-manifold problems. So with something like that, we're just going to want to test it out real quick, and I'm going to apply this to begin with. And now I know that I have a mesh, a hair mesh. I'm going to go File, Export, STL, and I have this series of tests going, but I make sure to have selection only turned on. There we go. And now we should have that one exported, and I'm just going to bring it right into Bamboo and just check for non-manifold edges here. You can do it in Blender, but it's not always accurate. So I just want to make sure that my model is not going to have any problems. Now there are 192,000 polygons in this one, or triangles in this one, and we just don't want that many. But we don't have any non-manifold edge problems. So the last thing we can do to this is decimate it. Go over here and decimate. And I'm going to do a ratio of 0.4 and see what that gets me. So it did knock down the poly count quite a bit and maintained that look still like a hair follicle. I can reduce that further, but then it starts to look really geometric. That's okay. They're still going to be manifold. They won't have any non-manifold problems, but they just get a little bit distorted. Again, I'm trying to reduce poly count, so I'm happy with that. Okay, so last thing to do is the rest of the hair, and bring it out to make a copy of it. And this time I'm going to just maybe grab the bottom ones here. So I'm going to tab into edit mode once again and grab the face selection with C turned on. Okay, so now I just have this bottom edge, and we're going to repeat the same process. One thing we're going to do a little differently this time, when we do add the particle mesh hair, is we're going to change its length and make it pretty long. I'm not going to add any segments to this, and the reason is they're going to add more geometry. So I'm just going to stick with the standard 5 segments, but I'm going to make the length like 25 maybe. There we go. Okay, I'm going to reduce the number here again. Let's do this one lower, 600, just so we have fewer polygons. And now I can come up to this object mode and go to particle edit, and this gives you a comb. And there's lots of comb options along the side view here. You can just kind of click and drag. It's very intuitive. Once you're done, go back to object mode. And now we can do the same thing. We'll convert to mesh in the modifiers. I'm going to convert it to a curve. Go to the data tab, scroll down and change the depth of the bevel. That looks pretty decent. I'm now going to go back to object, convert, and change it to a mesh. Select off, then back on, move it out of the way, and then delete this original. Hope that helps you out making your 3D printable Spartan helmet. Good luck.